Imagine, everything you thought you knew about the universe was a lie. For decades, people have whispered about strange lights in the sky, unidentified flying objects, and encounters with beings that defy explanation. These stories have been dismissed, buried beneath the weight of official denials, labeled as hoaxes, delusions, or misunderstandings. But what if they weren't? What if behind the closed doors of the world's most secretive military installations, a war had been waged, not between nations, not between political ideologies, but between humanity and something far older, far more advanced, and far more dangerous, a secret war. One that has raged for nearly a century, unseen by the public, hidden behind layers of misinformation, deception, and silence. A war not for conquest, but for survival. The first signs were ignored. It started subtly, brief glimpses of unknown craft moving at impossible speeds, silent objects hovering over restricted airspace, and mysterious encounters that left pilots and radar operators questioning their own sanity. The US government dismissed these incidents, chalking them up to experimental aircraft, atmospheric anomalies, or simple misidentifications. But then came the undeniable evidence. It was 1947 when the first real crack appeared in the illusion. Roswell, New Mexico. Officially, it was a downed weather balloon, but those who were there, the ones who saw the wreckage, the ones who touched the twisted metal that seemed to defy the very laws of physics, knew the truth. This was no human-made craft, it was something else. Something not of this world. The debris was unlike anything ever seen before. Metals that bent like cloth but could not be cut, strange symbols etched into the hull, fibers that felt almost alive to the touch. And then there was the body. Or, rather, what was left of it. The thing inside was humanoid but wrong. Its skin, an eerie shade of grey, seemed to shimmer under the lights. Its eyes, large, black, devoid of emotion, stared into nothingness. The being was dead. But the technology it carried? That was very much alive. The wreckage and the corpse were immediately classified at the highest levels. The remains were transported to a secure underground facility, hidden from the public, hidden even from most of the government. But Roswell was only the beginning. The real horror was yet to come. Because within the wreckage, hidden deep in what could only be described as a data core, a message was found. It took years to decipher. The greatest minds in cryptography, linguistics, and mathematics were brought together in absolute secrecy to decode it. And when they did, it changed everything. The message was not a distress call. It was not a transmission seeking rescue. It was a warning. The Earth had been noticed. Something was coming, and it wasn't coming in peace. The realization sent shockwaves through the highest levels of power. If this was true, then the Roswell crash was not just an accident. It was evidence of an ongoing, unseen conflict, one that humanity had just stumbled into. The United States government began preparing, but they were already behind. The enemy, whoever they were, had been watching, testing, observing. And in 1952, they made their presence known in a way that could no longer be ignored. The Washington, D.C. UFO incident. For several nights in July, the skies above the U.S. Capitol were filled with unidentified craft. These objects moved at speeds no human aircraft could match, changing direction instantaneously, as if the laws of inertia didn't apply to them. Military radar operators tracked them. Fighters were scrambled. The world came dangerously close to an open confrontation. But then, just as suddenly as they had arrived, the objects vanished. The official explanation? Temperature inversions. The truth? That night, behind the closed doors of the Pentagon, a terrifying conversation took place. Intelligence reports from around the world suggested that this was not an isolated event. Sightings had been increasing. Military bases, nuclear facilities, remote outposts. But what was more alarming was the disappearances. Soldiers stationed at classified locations, entire research teams working on cutting-edge technology, gone. No bodies, no wreckage, no signs of struggle. It was as if they had been erased from existence. Whatever was happening, it wasn't random. It was targeted. The war had already begun, and then. Antarctica. A classified U.S. naval operation, codenamed High Jump, was launched in 1946 officially for scientific research. But those who were part of the mission, those who saw what was hidden beneath the ice, knew the truth. The expedition had uncovered something ancient, something not built by human hands. And when they tried to explore further, their ships were attacked. Officially, Operation High Jump ended due to unexpected weather conditions. Unofficially, the survivors spoke in hushed tones of aircraft that could move like ghosts, weapons that could tear through steel as if it were paper, and something buried beneath the ice that should have never been disturbed. The war wasn't coming. It was already here, and humanity was hopelessly outmatched. The war had begun long before humanity was even aware of it. The events at Roswell, the Washington, D.C. sightings, the disappearances of military personnel, these were not random. They were calculated moves in a game being played on a scale beyond human comprehension. The United States was no longer dealing with the possibility of extraterrestrial life. They were dealing with a hostile force, one that saw Earth not as a thriving civilization, but as a resource, a territory, a battlefield. But the question remained, who or what were they fighting? The answer came in fragments, a recovered transmission here, an intercepted signal there. Through painstaking efforts, military intelligence pieced together glimpses of the truth. Earth was not unique. In fact, it was just one of thousands of planets caught in the crossfire of an ancient war, a conflict so vast it made human history seem like the blink of an eye. There were multiple factions. Some were explorers, others were conquerors, and some were something else entirely. The first enemy humanity identified was known only by a code name, the Architects. They were not biological in the way humans understood life. Their ships, their machines, if they could even be called that, were grown rather than built. Their technology did not rely on circuits, metals, or propulsion. Instead, it seemed to operate on principles beyond even the most advanced human science: gravitational, warping, dimensional phasing, biological computing. Their vessels pulsed like living things, their surfaces shifting and morphing like muscle and sinew, adapting in real time to threats. The Architects did not communicate in ways humans could decipher. There were no radio signals, no vocalizations, no written language. Instead, they left structures, monoliths, obelisks, vast underground chambers, built eons ago, before the first human had ever walked the earth. Some believed these were merely ruins of a forgotten empire. Others feared they were more than that. They were warnings. The United States discovered one such site buried beneath the Antarctic ice, an impossible structure, older than any civilization on record. A team was sent in. The things they found inside defied logic: corridors that seemed to stretch into infinity, walls that rearranged themselves, doorways leading to places that should not exist. And then the team vanished. Every single one of them. No distress calls, no remains. Only their equipment was left behind, still recording, until the footage turned to static. After that, the military sealed the site. Officially, it was deemed geologically unstable. In reality, they were terrified. Because something inside had awakened, and the Architects were not the only ones watching. The second enemy, one far more aggressive, was revealed in 1965 in a classified event known as the Solstice Encounter. Deep space radar installations detected an anomaly in high orbit, something moving at impossible speeds. Before they could react, the object descended toward Earth, crashing into the deserts of Nevada. Unlike Roswell, this was no accident. It was an infiltration. Black operations teams were deployed within the hour. When they arrived at the crash site, they expected to find wreckage. Instead, they found something horrifying. The ship was regenerating. Fractured plates of alien metal fused back together before their eyes, wounds knitting closed, as if the vessel were alive. And then the real horror emerged. From the darkness of the ship came them. They were nothing like the lifeless, gray-skinned entities of Roswell. These creatures were tall, skeletal, their elongated bodies wrapped in chitinous exoskeletons that shimmered under the floodlights. Their limbs were unnaturally long, their fingers ending in razor-sharp claws. They had no visible eyes, no mouths, just smooth, unbroken skulls. that reflected the light in an almost hypnotic way. They moved with inhuman precision, not like individuals, but like a hive. And they attacked without hesitation. The firefight lasted less than 4 minutes. By the time it was over, an entire unit of highly trained operatives had been slaughtered. The creatures didn't fight like animals. They fought like machines, calculated, efficient, merciless. Only one soldier survived long enough to report back before he succumbed to his injuries. His final words: "They weren't just attacking us, they were testing us." And just like that, the second war front was opened. The US government had no choice but to escalate. They initiated Project Black Dagger, an operation so classified that even the president had limited knowledge of its true purpose. The goal was simple: reverse engineer alien technology, develop countermeasures, and prepare for a conflict unlike any in human history. The breakthroughs came slowly at first. Energy weapons, advanced propulsion systems, materials that defied physics. But the most significant discovery came from the Nevada crash site itself, a biological component embedded within the ship's framework. It wasn't just a vessel, it was alive. Scientists theorized that these ships were not piloted in the traditional sense. The creatures were not flying them, they were part of them. An advanced form of biosynthetic warfare, a species that had merged with its technology to become a singular, unstoppable force. And the worst part, the wreckage contained a navigation system. A map, one that pointed to Earth. Whatever was coming, this was just the beginning. The war was no longer in the shadows. It was about to arrive in the open, and humanity was not ready. Panic spread through the highest levels of government. The realization was chilling. Earth was not simply a battlefield in a hidden war. It was a target. Project Black Dagger intensified. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists worked in complete secrecy, pushing beyond the limits of known physics to prepare for a confrontation that could decide the fate of the planet. Entire underground facilities were built, vast self-sustaining cities hidden beneath the deserts of Nevada, under the Arctic tundra, even deep beneath the oceans. And yet, the deeper they dug, the more they uncovered. The map retrieved from the biosynthetic craft had contained more than just Earth's location. It had coordinates, markers hidden across the globe, indicating places where something had been left behind. The first discovery was in the Mariana Trench, 7 miles beneath the surface, where the crushing pressure made exploration nearly impossible. A specialized deep-sea probe was sent in, equipped with experimental hull plating developed from reverse-engineered alien alloys. What it found was impossible. A structure, a colossal metallic spire, its surface smooth and untouched, despite eons beneath the waves. It was not natural, it was not human. It pulsed with a faint, eerie glow, emitting energy frequencies that did not conform to any known spectrum. And when the probe got too close, it vanished, not destroyed, not crushed by the pressure, just gone. The next anomaly was in the Amazon rainforest. A team of operatives was dispatched under the guise of a standard scientific expedition. What they found in the jungle was not of this earth, a temple. Not built from stone, but something else, something that reacted to their presence. The walls moved as if they were alive, shifting and rearranging themselves, like it was watching them. And then the team made a critical mistake. They went inside. Only one man made it back, barely alive, raving about shadows that moved without light and whispers that weren't words. His body was covered in strange markings, etched into his skin as if burned there from within. He died within 48 hours, autopsy. Reports classified. The last known anomaly was underneath Antarctica. Satellite imaging detected a vast network of tunnels hidden beneath the ice, stretching for miles. More than that, there was heat. Something was alive down there. A Black Ops team was deployed armed with the most advanced weaponry Project Black Dagger had developed. They descended into the tunnels, weapons at the ready. They were never heard from again. The last transmission received from their commander came through in fragmented bursts, static-filled, barely coherent. It's not just a base. It's not ruins. It's waiting. It knows we're here. Oh God, it's waking up. It's waking up. And then silence. The war was no longer theoretical. Something beneath Antarctica had been buried long before the first humans walked the Earth, something that wasn't supposed to be found. And now, it was awake. The final piece of the puzzle came in 1983, when a deep space surveillance system picked up an incoming object, a craft, moving at speeds faster than anything humanity could comprehend. It was coming directly toward Earth. The government initiated a full-scale blackout. The public would never know. Intercept attempts were made, but they failed before they even began. Every missile, every countermeasure, deactivated before launch, as if the craft knew what was happening before it happened. And then, it stopped. Not on Earth, not in orbit, but behind the moon. For weeks it just sat there, watching, waiting, and then, without warning, it vanished. No propulsion signature, no trace gone, but it left something behind. Radio telescopes across the world picked up a single transmission, not a warning, not a threat, just two words repeated over and over in perfect English. We remember, and then silence. The war was not over. It had never ended. It was just waiting. Waiting for the moment when humanity was ready to understand the truth, or for the moment when Earth would no longer be needed. Final section. The world continued, unaware. The wars of nations, the struggles of humanity, all meaningless compared to what lurked in the void beyond the stars. Project Black Dagger still exists. Its facilities remain hidden. Its research continues. The government knows what's out there, but the real question is, do they know what's coming? Because there are still markers on that map, places still undiscovered, secrets still buried. And if there is one universal truth that has remained constant across all civilizations, across all species, it is this: nothing stays buried forever. Not weapons, not wars, not the things that wait in the dark, so the question remains, what happens when they return? Are we prepared or are we already lost? What do you think? Could Earth already be under silent occupation? Could an invisible war be raging above our heads? Let us know your theories in the comments. And if you want more of these untold mysteries, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because some secrets refuse to stay hidden.